Ignite Somerset.
It's art on the radio.
Featuring contributions from artists,
curators,
filmmakers,
musicians,
photographers,
poets,
technologists,
Performers
and a host of others
who add to the cultural life of the county.
Somerset Film, together with 10 Radio,
showcasing innovation in the arts.
On 105.3 FM and at 10radio.org.
Hello and welcome to another lively edition of Ignite Somerset, the arts, the 60 minutes dedicated to the arts on 10 Radio. And I'm joined in the studio today by Phil. Actually, it's quite difficult to describe you somehow. You're an actor, you're a filmmaker, you're a sound, you work on the sound of films. You're multi-talented film producer. I think you run a film company. Phil Dyer. Hello, Phil.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
And Alex is here to support Phil. Now, I thought it'd be quite interesting to start the show, Phil, with an example of one of your recent films, 1 in a Million. Can you just give the 10 Radio listeners a little bit of an idea of what this, without giving the ending away, a little bit of an idea of exactly what 1 in a Million is all about?
I can go to the middle with it. Basically, the film's run by people with LD, and it's quite a challenge to get them to work on a new experience. Spring roles, I call it, which is sort of like developing their own skills, giving them a bit of a leeway. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's like this young woman that gets put in a nursing home after her mother died, and her father was too sick to look after her. Mm-hmm. And then basically she leaves there when she's around about 18, goes to work in a fish factory, which is a very...
Wait a minute, Phil. We're going to play some of this. We're not going to play the ending, though.
No. Don't want to get the ending away.
We want people to be interested in finding out about the ending of the film by seeing the film. Now, you just talked about working with people with LD. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's hard because it's been changed from one to the other. I like to use words learning difficulties. Okay. Well, should we play a little clip of the film? What I'm going to do is, I've got the film here in front of me on my computer. I'm just going to play the first, if it's all right with you. We're going to play the first. We're going to play the first 2 minutes or so.
One in a Million. We meet Sandy leaving the home where her father had put her many years before.
Here's the address of the fish factory. It's not far.
Thank you for looking after me.
Yes, well, good luck. I hope you enjoyed the job.
Do you know why my father didn't want me?
I guess you were too much bother.
Don't worry, kid. I'm not looking at you, I'm just looking at someone else. I know.
Who's that?
Sunny Tin Man.
Rob realises that Sandy is the daughter of his old mentor Graham Tinman. Wanting to repay the kindness he has shown him, he offers Sandy a job in his newest 5-star hotel. After thinking long and hard about working for the enigmatic tycoon, Sandy agrees.
Okay, Phil, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fade the film out there.
Okay.
Just giving the 10 radio listeners a context to some of the pictures I can see in front of me.
Yeah.
I had the good fortune to watch this film this morning for the very first time, actually, and it's really emotional.
Yes, it was.
What was it to make? Actually, was it as emotional to make as it is?
Some parts were and some weren't. I mean, one part actually upset me after I actually filmed it. Felt terrible, but I won't go into that.
Film has the power of doing that, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, like music. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was quite a long musical interlude in the bit that we just played. So, just to describe to the 10 radio listeners, that's our main character Sandy, played by Alison, who walks through town. She where does she leave? Children's home, is it?
Yeah.
She leaves the children's home to go to her new job, and there's that very cutting line at the beginning of the film in the script about her father. He says something like, I can't remember exactly what the words were. So perhaps you were too much trouble or something like that.
Too much bother is the actual words that he used.
Yeah. And I must admit, when I heard that, oh crikey, this is going to be a roller coaster of a film. and she walks through town towards Bowering's Animal Feeds, where she's got her first job.
Yeah.
And then this is, I know you know the film very well because you made it. This is for radio listeners, really. There's the scene where you arrive, not dressed as you are today, in your 1 in a million T-shirt, but you're the boss of the company.
Yep.
In this very smart suit, and you go, "Who's that over there?" And it's Sandy. That really very powerful acting. What's it like to be involved in all those different aspects of the production? Because you acted in this, but you were also involved behind the scenes, weren't you?
Yes.
What's it like?
It's quite good, actually, because it gives me a sense of using my over and large acting skills that I've got, so I've been told.
Yeah.
And it's quite good trying to learn all my lines in a different different situations. So like if I'm snobbish, or if I'm mad, angry, sad, happy, anxious, all those.
That's interesting, because the character that you play in this film actually has all of those emotions.
Yes.
Because when I first saw you coming, I thought, that's not the Phil Dyer I know. That's the boss of Bowering Animal Feeds coming at me in your very smart suit. But then I'm watching it now as we're speaking, actually, on my computer. You show all sorts of tenderness throughout the story. I'm dying actually to give the end of the story away, but I won't. How might people find out about how to get hold of this film?
Well, basically, they can get me by a special email address, which I think is trembusses@gmail.film.
Yeah, I've got that one.
And I think they can also get a sense of it on YouTube and also on my personal website, which I think is webeden.co.uk.
If I may interject, Phil, it is at www.trendbusterfilms at so God, so I'm useless. Trendbusterfilms.
I don't know, Phil.
.webeden, isn't it?
Yeah.
.co.uk.
Trendbusterfilms.webeden.co.uk.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, Phil.
So I've got Phil, I've got your card right in front of me, your business card. In fact, the other day when I bumped into you, the first thing you gave me was your business card. Do you have to be really aware of? Obviously, you're interested in the creative side of filmmaking. I can see that. I'm still watching it now. I'm going to start crying in a minute. I'm getting to that really emotional bit at the end. You're involved as a performer, as an actor.
Yeah.
And when we were speaking earlier this morning, you told me that you've also been involved in the editing process, the sound production, and so on. But do you have to have a business head on your shoulders as well? I mean, one of the first things you did for me when I saw you the other day was hand me your business card.
Well, I have to be very careful how I have my business card too.
Of course.
but I basically don't have a business head as such. I just sort of just wanted to get my business out there, basically. Let people know what I'm about, and if they need me, I can be available. I'm very flexible. I mean, since I moved out of home and lived with my fiance, I've had this sense to sort of like just get out there. And just wait for things to come my way if possible.
Am I right in understanding, Phil, that your fiancée is in this film?
Yes, the leading lady apparently.
Oh my
right
goodness!
From the start.
How was that? Was that some actors might find that difficult? Was that okay?
I think she found it difficult to start, but once I started writing the script and had it up, I went through it with her, and she felt fine because she said, "Oh, she'll be fine with all the makeup and all the costumes." And yeah. I let them basically bring their own costumes.
I'm just watching.
I told them sort of what I actually needed.
I'm just watching it now. You've really thought carefully. Oh, Alex is in it as well.
Oh yeah.
I am the vicar.
You
I'm
are
afraid.
a very unorthodox looking vicar, I have to say.
You should hear what the vicar said about him.
We're going out worldwide, Phil says. The credits are just going up now. In fact, it's a 10-minute film, just a nice length to go on an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Highly recommend everybody to watch it. It's called 1 in a Million, and you can find out more about it by going to the website trendbusterfilms.webeden.co.uk, and you can also contact Phil on email trendbusterfilms@yahoo.co.uk. The credits are just going up now. There's a lot of names involved in this. It was obviously there was a lot of people involved.
Well, some of them are extras, but they didn't really have any dialogue.
Okay,
that's why it's quite a lot.
Okay, and you got the support of your friends, your colleagues? Somerset Film were involved in this?
Yes, Somerset Film were involved. Yeah, they were filmed. Some of them filmed in the co-directing, the producer, the film camera, the sound people, and then also the support from obviously Phil Shepherd, who's in charge of the engine rooms.
You're right.
And also Will Briggs, who's the studio manager, helped me do the editing side, and Adam Shepherd.
Okay, because there's obviously, in the making of a film like this, there's a lot to consider. I mean, I guess as an audience to a film, you take a lot for granted, but you've had to consider not only the shooting of the film and getting the performers together, but there's some great costumes in this film. You've gone out on location to the animal feeds place, to, I want to say where the final venue is, but it might give the ending away. But you've really had to think about.
But it's a good ending, though.
Oh no, it is a good ending, but I just don't want to spoil it for the listeners. But you've had to think. Was there a lot of negotiation that had to be done, organising venues and so on?
Well, I had to get verification from people to say that yes, I could film at these places, because some places you can't and some places you can.
Right.
But I just went with obviously Alex rolling over here, and just sort of like went out and just asked, and then got release forms done. And if anybody said, well, what backup have you got, I had all the files I needed.
Okay.
And it's the same with my actors and actresses. I got release forms to say I could use their image, I could use it.
Yeah. And I noticed the film's subtitled. What was the reason behind that? Putting subtitles on the film?
That's basically if people want to buy the film and they can't hear, it's good they can see what's being said, but it also helps if people haven't got very good speech on the film. It still works in with what people, sort of like people like myself, they can see what was being actually said. So if it sounds a bit funny, they can work out what they actually really mean with the subtitles. So it works in two ways, really.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful story, and obviously there's a concern for you that as many people as possible can enjoy the story.
Anyone can enjoy the story.
Yeah, and so you've made it as accessible as you possibly can, which is a great thing. And the film also had support from Jump Cuts I believe. Yeah. I've got the DVD in my hand here, and I can see the Jump Cuts logo in the background, on the back there. And you can get more information on Jump Cuts at jumpcuts.org.uk. Okay, and there's a great big sign on the back, and it's all I can see. It's also on your T-shirt. 1 in a Million is a trend buster film. So this is your film production company, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, and again, you're getting support from organisations like Jump Cuts and Somerset Film to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm also getting a lot of help from also my private work as well with a support colleague.
Okay. Now, when we did the very first show of Ignite Somerset, quite a few months back now, we had a guest in the studio who's a friend and colleague of both of ours, Robin. We had Robin Meader here.
Oh yeah, I know.
Robin's a great artist. In fact, a different kind of artist to you. He draws, good old-fashioned drawing,
Yes.
and he's closely connected to Open Storytellers, right over on the other side of Somerset in Frome. Now, we were talking earlier. You said that you were a graduate from Open Storytellers.
Yes, I am a graduate. Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, they can call me up at any time and ask me to do a production or an event. I did one in Priddy, and they were doing, I think it was The Little Green Man and King of the Goblins, I think it's called.
Okay.
And we did them down at the Priddy open show where there was a lot of events going on.
Right.
And me, Robin, and Jem did a very good story, and I think most of the guys actually enjoyed it because we all got them all involved in doing all the sound effects.
Okay.
It's just great, yeah, it's really clever.
Yeah.
So, we actually managed to get them all involved.
Yeah.
And then I did a production with Jem, Margaret and Robin down at down somewhere in Bristol.
Okay.
And we had a sort of an aquarium around us, So,
oh wow! Right, amazing.
Yeah, it was all sort of like preschool kids,
Okay.
It's just great.
Yeah. Well, just for if any of the listeners aren't aware of Open Storytellers, they you can get more information on them. openstorytellers.org.uk, and just to give you a flavour of the kind of work they're involved in, I was having a look at Open Storytellers' website this morning, and they have a bulletin board on their front page here. Disabled people take their message direct to the Houses of Parliament with an art exhibition. Can I just read this? Actually, you might find it interesting, Phil.
Yeah, sure.
This is going back a little bit, but it's fairly typical of the kind of work they're involved in, I think. An exhibition of painted murals created with disabled people living in London, Norwich, Bristol, Manchester and Somerset was taken direct to the Houses of Parliament. Storytellers Robin Meader, will be representing Open Storytellers at this prestigious exhibition and will be able to express the frustrations, concerns, but also hopes and dreams of learning disabled people living in Somerset. Well done, Robin. I might actually play a little bit of the interview we did with Robin a bit later in the show.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's great, and you might find it interesting because I know you're a friend of his. Just going back to some of those issues that Open Storytellers deal with. Before we came into the studio, we talked a little bit about the use of language and the use of the word learning disabled, which is a word that's used now, but you prefer learning difficulties. Can you just expand on that a little bit and tell me where you're coming from?
Well, learning disabilities is a two-word, and I find it too negative for my own liking.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to try and change it back to what it used to be, which was learning difficulties, because everybody has a difficulty with some part of their life, and it's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather that they've changed it back, but personally, in my own view, it's just too negative, and it disrespects the people I've had to work with over the course of the life I've been with social services, and you know, I just don't like it.
Okay.
I find it too hurtful, and it disrespects the people that we work with.
You sure? Yeah. Phil, can we move on to another film that's on my computer as well? So I've got I'm lucky enough to be able to see the pictures. This is the Shape Up movie, which you were part of. You're rolling your eyes a bit there, Phil. I don't know why. What was all that about? What was the Shape Up film all about?
Well, it's a bit of real life story for me anyway, because I'm not proud of my weight, and it's all about this healthy eating and how to stay fit.
Okay.
And my part of the film, I think, is very moving because it reminds me of my childhood when I was really thinner than I am now, and really just too hurtful, being bullied, being sort of different, and being sworn at, mangled.
Well, there certainly are. There certainly are some really hard-hitting scenes in the film. But interestingly, it's the format of it. It's almost like a comedy.
It is a comedy. Some of it is a comedy, but mine is a very sort of like a very moving story.
It is.
I feel very passionate about it. When I'm on film, I have to think, now which way do I want to act? Do I want to be hard, nutcase, or do I want to be a calm, collected person? Do I want to be angry, sad? Do I want to rant and rave like a starflip and lunatic? You know, I have to think about it very in my head.
Well, it's
what a character I want to be.
What's interesting is it's a very different kind of performance. You are a different kind of character in Shape Up to the film we just talked about, 1 in a Million. You're a completely different kind of character. Can we play a little bit from it?
Sure.
The film is about 10 minutes in duration, but we're just going to play the 2 or so minutes that star you, Phil, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
Hopeless and sad. It's so hard to stop eating that junk food.
Some people eat very unhealthy food and they want to lose weight, but other people want to put weight on. Let's look at Jake's story.
Action! Hi, my name's Jake and I'm a very unusual guy. I'm very underweight and I need to put some more weight on. I had a really rough time when I was at school. All the other kids picked on me because I was so weedy.
Hey, chicken! Hey, chicken!
Now I'm older, I still feel the same. Everywhere I go, I see pictures of perfect men with perfect bodies. Big blokes with big muscles, six-packs, and girls falling all over them. Why can't I look like this? I feel so much better, and I feel so much more alive. So I decided to go to the gym twice a week. I'd love to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Alright, Jake, we're going to start you off with the running machine. Take it easy and don't overdo it.
Okay, boss, I'll take it easy.
Okay, Jake, for all the exercises you're doing, you're putting up lots of energy. If you want to build your muscles up, you need lots of carbohydrates, protein, and plenty of calories in your diet.
It's all very well eating a Mars bar a day, Jake, but your body needs other food to keep it going. It's all about balance. You're gonna wear yourself out.
Okay, and cut.
Lunchtime?
Yes, lunch it is. Back in 30 minutes, please.
Do you want a drink?
Lovely.
Have some
Oh.
ketchup, please. Yeah.
Pardon me.
What the hell are you doing here? I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. Look at all this junk food. This is disgusting. I thought this was a DVD about healthy eating. It's all crisps and it's chocolate and it's all fizzy pop. And pasties and cakes. I am really disappointed with everyone, especially you, James. I don't know, this food looks so unhealthy. Uh-oh. I like to see how all your lunches fit into the food wheel. It's over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Simon. Yes, I agree.
Ignite Somerset.
It's art on the radio.
Featuring contributions from artists,
curators,
filmmakers,
musicians,
photographers,
poets,
technologists,
performers,
and a host of others
who add to the cultural life of the county.
Somerset Film, together with 10 Radio,
showcasing innovation in the arts.
On 105.3 FM and at 10radio.org.
Phil, I absolutely love that film. It's great. Now, you talked earlier about how you really had to throw yourself into that role, and in some ways, it was an opportunity for you to get some stuff off your chest about when you were younger, when you were at school. Do you find the filmmaking process a good way of getting out there and expressing yourself?
Well, when we were talking earlier before we came on air, I said to you down at the base that sometimes I find filmmaking gets things off my chest, and it helps me relieve the stress that it puts me through.
Mm.
But it's better to do that than just talking to a person to put it off my chest and put it on their chest. So
yeah,
because really it doesn't really get off my chest.
Mm.
But if I put it through film, I can release the stress just by acting through it.
Mm.
And it's not so bad then.
Mm. I mean, actually, that's a good message for any of the 10 Radio listeners who've got something to say. Film's a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And again, in this production, you had a range of tasks, didn't you? You performed, but you were involved behind the scenes too?
Yeah, I did a bit of sound recording, a bit of sort of like dress settings, and did a bit of editing actually in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like trying to work out if we could use subtitles and menus, sort of like planning all through the engine rooms, but being involved in the film and just acting sort of gave me an inspiration.
I love the way at the end of the film it kind of turns it all on its head and uses comedy. So we end with your scene, and obviously I'm watching it here, the 10 Radio listeners aren't, but recommend you find out more about this film, and I'll tell you how you can find out more about it in a moment, and how you might be able to actually see it. But it goes from that scene of you in the gym to the cafe. Everybody's around the table eating crisps and Mars bars, and and the guy who's the production man comes in and goes, "What on earth's going on here?" I think the use of comedy to actually convey a serious message, it's a really good way of doing it.
It is.
Yeah. And that was another Jump Cuts involvement. Yeah, okay, so
I mean, that wasn't done by Trembusser Films. That was done by actual Jump Cuts, by the LD Services for Filmmaking, but that's what opened my broader mind, basically.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's what stopped, so I can do that.
Right, and again, you had to think about, I can see that in the film there was a lot of production went into the film. I could see there was some green screen stuff going on in there. There was some sort of little bits of special effects. How long does it take to make a film like that? There's a lot of actors involved as well.
Blimey. 12 weeks, something like that.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I said, I wasn't in every scene, so I can't say what happened at maybe say 5 ways or something like that. But but from where I was, it's about 12 weeks, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're going to listen to a little bit of music now, Phil. Over the past few weeks, I've been playing some tunes off of the On the Record album, which is an Action Track Performance Company production. And this tune is called Big Glass Window.
Ignite Somerset.
It's art on the radio.
Featuring contributions from artists,
curators,
filmmakers, musicians,
photographers,
poets,
technologists,
performers,
and a host of others
who add to the cultural life of the county.
Somerset Film, together with 10 Radio,
showcasing innovation in the arts.
On 105.3 FM and at 10radio.org.
Well, hello again. It's Ignite Somerset on 10 Radio. Now, earlier on in the show, I mentioned the interview that I did with Robin Meader quite a few weeks back now. And Phil and Robin are friends and colleagues and have worked together on various projects. In fact, Phil and I were out with Robin fairly recently. We went to film Deb Criddle, who's a Paralympian, Somerset-based Paralympian, but more accurately, she's an equestrian Paralympian, or para-equestrian, I think is the technical, the right phrase there. Let's just have a listen to a little bit of what Robin had to say when he was in the studio.
Ignite Somerset.
It's art on the radio.
On 105.3 FM and at 10radio.org.
Right, well, at the top of the show, I told you that we've got Robin Meader here in the studio. Hello, Robin.
Hello.
And you've been sketching away, haven't you?
I have actually, yeah.
Well, I want to look at that sketch in a moment. And you might hear also some clicking of a camera shutter in the background, because Carly's very busy to photographs of the whole thing as well. So the studio at 10 Radio is alive with creativity. Okay. Now, Robin, you're part of, well, a number of things, but one of which is Open Storytellers. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about what Open Storytellers is?
Well, Open Storytellers is an organisation for people with learning disabilities in the west of England and also in Somerset to tell stories to other people, to other communities. And it's mostly stories that people know about their childhood days or their adulthood days. And we do all sorts. We do like creative arts, workshops, education skills, and entertainment storytelling. And we go into different places like day centres or theatres, or even like in places in the community. And we've been running since 2004.
Okay. And I believe that we've talked about Somerset Film and the Engine Room quite a bit this afternoon, and I believe you've been doing some work with them as well that's connected to the Cultural Olympiad.
Yes, I've been drawing like pictures for the actual Cultural Olympiad, starting off in Taunton and Bridgewater, going on to Weymouth, and then the final performance in London.
Okay. And I've known you for some time now, Robin, and what I've always been interested in is your drawings are quite like photographs, and you once described your drawings as, instead of drawing something, you took something. You were showing me your sketch pad once, and we were going through some of the drawings, and you said, I took this one when I was here, and I took that one when I was there. And do you see your drawings kind of as photographs?
I do actually. I see a lot of pictures like photographs. It's like my mind is like a camera zoom, and when it sees a focus of a picture, it then takes a picture and it goes all down a piece of paper like photograph in a Photoshop, and then it comes straight out the press.
Okay.
And every single person gets a copy of it.
Okay. Now, you've been busy drawing this photograph, and obviously we're on radio, but so the listeners aren't going to be able to see this, but we will put this on the Ignite Somerset blog. But would you mind just showing it to me now?
This is the actual finished portrait.
That is absolutely amazing.
It is.
And it is a lot like a photograph. It's got lots of detail in it. It's got me in it and the microphone, and it's got Barry, who's helping me out a bit at the back here as well.
That's right.
And you've got all kinds of equipment in there. You've got the telephone in there.
Yeah.
There's pretty much everything in there. Is Carly in there?
Carly's in there, and I'm in the background as well doing drawings.
Oh, yes, I can see. It's full, jam-packed full with details.
Yes.
So at the end of the show, we'll make a photograph of that. We'll get it up on the Ignite Somerset blog.
That'd be brilliant.
Okay. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Hello, you're back in the studio with 10 Radio, with Phil Dyer and with Alex. Hello, Phil.
Hello.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Now, that was great doing that with Robin, the radio show, some weeks ago now. But it was even nicer meeting him a few weeks ago to go and meet with Deb Criddle, the para-equestrian. And Phil, I had the pleasure of your company throughout the whole thing. How did you find? You were filming, weren't you?
I was filming, yeah. I found it great because it's quite funny because I've never seen a Paralympic before, and I found it so interesting that as much power she had up on the upper part of her body to control the horse, even though she had no arms. Well, only one arm, right, basically. And, you know, and how she could control the horse, it's just magnificent, yeah.
It was magnificent, yeah. I mean,
I especially liked her gait.
Her gait?
You know, a front gate.
Oh, a front gate. No, for a moment I didn't know whether you meant a technical phrase for sitting on a horse.
No, sorry.
Or the gate of her. The gate of her front door. No, let's just rewind that. Oh, you liked her gate while she was on the horse.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, Alex, over to you for a bit. How long have you known Phil?
I've known Phil for probably about 4 years now, and I first met him when I was employed by Somerset County Council. It's now called the Community Directorate, but it's what you and I would call social services.
Right.
And I met Phil because he was working at Huntsville Projects, doing recycling and gardening and various jobs down there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Phil's giving me a thumbs down sign at the moment. I'm hoping that means he didn't like Huntsville Projects as opposed to doesn't like me. Yeah, that's all right. But yes, Phil has got a unique talent for, although he would be the first to admit that there are certain areas where he's not so highly skilled in, what he is very skilled in is identifying people and organisations that can help him. Mm-hmm. And Phil, for better or worse, identified myself as someone that he felt he could get along with and could work with.
You're prepared to play the vicar in his film.
Exactly.
He's a very good vicar.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thanks, Phil. But yes. Basically, Phil decided that he wanted me to work with him, so he badgered my boss to let me sort of almost go on like day release with him and work with him. And then in the end, Phil decided that he no longer wanted to work at Huntsville Projects, and he actually took his budget that he used for that, and he now employs me directly to work with him, and we do about a day and a half, 2 days a week now, isn't it, Phil? I think 3 days a week. Yeah. So and it's really great, and it means Phil can get exactly the support that he needs, and because I'm working one-to-one with Phil, we can absolutely tailor make it to suit Phil. I mean, I'm no filmmaker, but I've kind of had to learn on the job a little bit to help Phil. And it's great, really, because we just we learn together, we do exactly what Phil wants to do, and it just gives him a real, it really enables him to help achieve his goals, I hope.
And you must find both of yourselves in some quite unusual scenarios sometimes. I know I was out with you once, Phil. We were out together filming and photographing. This is going back to the Cultural Olympiad again last year.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? You were a filmmaker involved in that project, and I think, Alex, I met you there too. We were out doing all sorts of things, filming performances, walking along. I seem to have a memory of walking along a railway track late at night.
I was going to say, my memory is as somebody nameless walking along a disused railway platform with a very expensive camera and then just disappearing off the end of it. And
was that Mr. Knock?
I can't remember, Phil. It was some errant filmmaker, I think. So.
Anyway, but as filmmakers, and Alex, as you were supporting Phil, you must find yourself. And I know that Somerset Film, I think they're interested in putting cameras in those unusual places at those unusual times along railway tracks in the middle of the night to look at some kind of art installation. So, you're likely to find yourselves in those situations.
Yeah, we really, what I do work-wise now is kind of like a dream job, really, because I get to support Phil, who's very talented anyway, and that in itself is a great pleasure. But also, just we get to go out and do all this stuff, which is kind of like, a lot of it is like big kids stuff. We get to go to interesting places, we film stuff, we drink lots of tea, we eat a little bit of cake, which is always good. But no, it's a great job, and it's just great to see Phil, really using his talents that he's got in such a proactive and positive way. And I mean, he has achieved far more than a lot of people who don't have that label of learning difficulty, and I just think it just goes to show there is no excuse. There's no excuse for not getting out there and doing what you want to do. If you're going to sit on your backside and moan about everything else, well, just look at Phil, because he is a prime example of someone who's not necessarily been handed the greatest hand in life, but he absolutely makes 100% of what he does. He puts all his effort into it, and he gets some great results. And I think you should be very proud of that.
Sorry, Phil, go on.
But saying that, I may not have had the bestest childhood in life, but I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud that I can maybe inspire other people to do that. A lot of people could say, Phil, how did you get to work with Alex? How did you get out of home? How did you do this? How did you... I said, I don't know.
Yeah, but what
I just badger people. That's my trouble.
Yeah, and what's also interesting, you talked about this earlier, is that you found film as well. You found film a really good way of you expressing yourself and sharing some of that stuff that about your childhood, particularly in that film Shape Up. I mean, though it's a comedy, there are some quite hard-hitting scenes in that film.
Oh, like I said, there was in 1 in a Million as well. I mean, actually, to be honest with you, Richard, take a look at this.
What's this you're handing me?
It's the making of 1 in a Million. There's some quite hard scenes in that.
Oh, really? Okay, so this is a sort of a behind-the-scenes look.
Yeah, it's the one that I did with Richard Hall, I think.
Okay. Well,
and it involves myself, Alex Dotter, Alex Rowland, Richard Hall.
Is this the one that was made by Gabriel Jones, Phil?
No, this is the one that was made. It was the one you're in.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Not the one by
right,
Gabriel.
Okay.
That was behind the scenes. This is the making of.
I see.
Well, Phil, what I'm going to do, I'm going to load this DVD up into my computer. Is this film available on the main DVD?
Yes, it is.
So you sort of get
There's
behind...
4 parts on the main DVD.
Right.
This is why I've just learned extra, just so the listeners on the radio can hear what's been said.
A little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'll wait for that to load up. Just whilst that is loading up, tell me, Phil, do you... Ignite Somerset as a project is quite interested in how artists use new technology. And you're using digital video cameras. You're getting a bit of a... You're involved in editing films as well, aren't you, over at Somerset Film, as part of a...
Sort of.
A little bit.
Sort of a bit like a trade swap. Skill swap.
Skill swap. What's that?
Basically, I do recycling for the guys at the engine rooms, and in return, they help me edit my projects. But they actually do it more than I do, but I edit it.
Sorry, the DVD has just launched itself. That's one of those things with new technology, isn't it? Let me rewind it, and then we'll get back to you, Phil. Hang on a mo. Oh, making 1 in a Million. That's what it says on my screen. Sorry, we were rudely interrupted by the making of 1 in a Million. You've got this trade skill swap thing going.
Yeah. Like I say, I do recycling for the guys at the engine room.
Okay.
And then in return, they give me editing skills. And I'm there basically just to say how it's supposed to be. But they actually do the editing because me and Alex tried to do the course. And, they take us till Christmas.
Well, we very soon, I mean, as I said, Phil is very good at identifying people that he realises have particular skills, and both Phil and I very soon realised that we probably weren't cut out to be film editors, but we knew a man who was. And this is Will Bix at the Engine Rooms, who's kind of like a couple of clicks below God when it comes to doing editing, really. And we very quickly realised that what it would take Phil and I a week to achieve, Will could achieve in about 30 seconds. Okay. So we just looked at a way that we could... We wanted to make it sustainable. That was the important thing. We didn't want Will to do a bit of editing for us as a favour. We wanted to make it so that it was a practical solution. So... I think we all got around a table and we came up with the idea that, yes, Phil would go in. Something they really needed a hand with at the Engine Rooms was dealing with all that recycling, because obviously being a cafe, they produce a lot of waste like that. And we got Phil a little trolley, and now he goes in once a week. He does all their recycling. He writes down the amount of time that he spent doing that in a little book. They sign it off, and then he trades that for editing time, and it's been a really brilliant thing. And as I say, it really came from Phil, because once again, he identified a skill he didn't have, but he knew a man who did. So yeah.
And actually, a lot of the filmmaking process and the creative process is about collaborating and looking at where you might find that extra support, because nobody could possibly have the wide range of skills that you need to make an entire movie. Like we've just seen 2 of them here on the radio. So that use of new technology, is that something that you're interested in? I mean, the idea of perhaps showing your film on mobile phone apps and things like that, is that a direction you'd like to take your work?
When we were talking earlier on, I said, yes, I'd like to learn how to do that. I'd like to be involved in that aspect, because now, as I say, I've got a better mobile phone than I used to have before.
Yeah.
And, really I need to sort of like go on from that and learn more about it, because I still can't get used to a touchscreen phone.
Well, Phil is pretty good. He's not
Sometimes.
He's not telling the full story here, because Phil not only is on YouTube, has his own YouTube channel at Trendbuster Films. He also has a Facebook fan page at Trendbuster Films. And something him and I do regularly is, with the support I give Phil, we discovered very quickly that Phil's a very visual kind of guy, and he finds it much easier to see someone face to face. But I live a few miles away from Phil, and we discovered a great way to do it was kind of via video conferencing, using kind of Skype and that sort of thing. And it is brilliant, because it means Phil can simply... He can just show me what the problem is. He can point the camera at whatever the problem is, whether it's a letter or a bill or a bit of advice he needs, and I can help him with it. And so he is Mr. Gadget. He might deny this, but he is Mr. Gadget. He's fully phoned and iPadded up, and in fact, he has a lot more skill. He'll often say to me, "Oh, look at this thing I've just discovered on my iPad," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know we could do that." So yeah, he's great. He's great with the technology.
Well. The last word to Inspector Gadget in the corner here. We're going to play the making of 1 in a Million in a minute, straight from the DVD that you just handed me. It's all ready to go now. Just to finish off, what are your hopes? Where do you want to? You've made these 2 films we've just showcased this afternoon, but there's lots of other stuff you've been involved in that we were going to talk about. We haven't been able to squeeze it in the hour. Where do you want to take all of this experience going forwards?
Well, the newest project of all is I'm going to put some back into people's lives who have got LD, as they call it, my learning difficulties development.
Yeah.
Which I have got a case on Facebook for that.
Okay. That's right, of course, yeah.
And basically I'm doing informational films to help people do things independently instead of staff making choices for them.
Okay.
And that's my project.
That's fascinating. So you've used film way to explore your own childhood and deal with some of those things, but now you're making films to help others, really.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's my goal.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Listen, Phil, it's been brilliant having you here. I've been meaning for a while to get you in the studio, so I'm glad we've finally done it. Thank you, Alex, for coming along too.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
We're going to finish by just playing just a few minutes of the making of 1 in a Million, which will give a little bit of a background, a bit of a context for the 10 Radio listeners. So tune in next week, where there'll be more art talk.
What was it that made you want to make a film?
Well, basically, Shape Up are open by ambition and goals to be in the media and film world. And it's just such a great experience. And I thought, well, started writing out my own scripts, off my own head. And I thought, well, maybe I should get it out into the public.
What did you think of Phil undertaking the challenge to make a film?
I thought it would be really good for him. I know that it's something that he's been wanting to do for a long time, and it's just trying to find somebody that could support him in that.
Well, basically, one of the virtual students, Richard Hall, actually signed one of my forms for the NLCD, and in the end, Phil Shepherd, who's, like I said, is the general manager here, said that I should get more virtual students involved, so that gave me a lead, and I'd spoken to Richard quite a long time ago about it, and he knows the sort of storyline.
I ended up meeting Phil one day, and we just generally were talking, and he told me his interest of filmmaking. I told him my interest of being a camera operator on films, and he told me his project. I thought, wow, that's good. Fair shout to yourself to go out and try and make this thing happen, find funding for it. If you want anyone to film for you, I'll be happy to do it for you. And that's how it happened. And Phil was really excited by that because he was excited by the fact that somebody wanted to just get involved to help make it possible.
And as soon as that happened, and obviously I spoke to Alex Blotter, who's a freelance filmmaker, I went from there. It took a long time to get everything sorted, but it was a good process.
I think the one thing that I identified with Phil, and he would agree with this himself, is Phil is inclined to take on far too much, and he can get quite bogged down in the detail, and he realises that, but he can't always kind of see beyond that. So it's really good for him to have somebody that can kind of just stand back from that and sort of say, right, Phil, this is important or this isn't important. And he just needs that little bit of direction. I mean, really, he's very good, but sometimes he finds it a little bit hard to just identify what's really important and what can wait till later.
And for instance, Richard Hall and Stephen Winkley, they've had experience in filming things on camera, and that's their speciality. So they know what dynamic shots we need. And they always explain things like why they're doing this shot and why it's the best one. And for people like Alex Blotter and Paul Collins, they've explained things like the way of directing, how it should be directed for a special production, which is usually done by a production manager. And I've learned also not to take on too much, because I couldn't take everything on myself. I couldn't do the camera and the production and acting and directing. It's just too much.
I think what he's shown throughout this is that actually he's quite capable of achieving this goal, and he's done it really well. He's done far better than I thought he would, to be honest. He's shown himself to be very capable, and if anything, the only thing he sometimes lacks is a little bit of self-confidence, but he's actually very capable, and I kind of think sometimes he doesn't actually need as much help as he thinks he needs. So, yeah.
We've gone from the chapel.
Yeah.
So we've got that email to sort out, and we've got to go see Liz. I don't know if we're going to see it today or next week.
Liz is at the
farm.
At the farm.
Yeah, and the vicarage we've already sorted out. They said yes. The nursing home.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, the one in Cannington.
Yeah, the one in Cannington. Yeah.
I learned a lot more from doing this film than I did when I was doing Shape Up. A lot more. And it's basically because, obviously, Steve and Tom knew what they were doing at the time, but I learned a lot of safety tips from Richard Hall, Alex Blotter, Paul Collins, more than I did in Shape Up. And that's one thing I've never learned.
You were more involved. Will you say you were more? You got more hands-on with the filmmaking this film?
Yes, yeah, I did, yeah.
Main guy in the story about to enter now, the doctor.
No.
Is it all about the doctor?
No.
Oh right.
It's all about Sandy. We're very ill. Food was violated by a great deal of stress.
Yeah, I know.
Everything happened to her all at once.
I know.
Can't take it in.
Yeah. It's worn her out.
Yeah.
Stress of filmmaking.
She said
I thought that was your job. I thought that was you that had to stress.
Stress are hanging around us all day.
I think Phil has done brilliantly, really, because he's taken it from some idea that he's had, that he's just sat down and written, and he has got the people involved. It's not like I would have been doing it anyway. Phil asked me to come in and do it.
All the way through, you've seen the process from A to B, and he said, I want to make this happen, and he did it. And